news.
Xbox dropped some interesting information today about the price of their, well, I guess all their current everything that they've got. From the Series X to the X to the wireless controllers to the Elites, the headsets. And if you missed the news, I'm sorry to inform you the price of everything is going up. Series S 512 is going up from $299 to $379. So basically $300 to $380, so an $80 increase. Whoa, that thing's going. So if you're thinking about getting an Xbox Series anything, and I really wish that they would change the name. But if you're thinking about getting a Series anything, you might want to wait and see if prices come down any, or if there's any deals as we get closer to Christmas. Although if you really want a console, but you don't want to spend a bunch on games, you buy an Xbox Series whatever. Probably just kidding. You can get a good deal because of Game Pass. $20 a month will get you Ultimate. And, oh, also forget to mention that Xbox has said that price of their games are going up to $80 as well. The first party
It's
games.
ridiculous.
But the thing is, so that's 4 months of Xbox Ultimate. Sorry, Game Pass Ultimate. So there's...
Yeah, but I mean, Game Pass is good if you have a PC.
Game Pass is better if you have an Xbox, though. They have over 500 games, or around 500 games on Xbox, and that's just going to keep going up as they continue to add the Activision Blizzard games as slowly as they are.
So I did the math with Game Pass, and the new game Expedition 33 came out on Game Pass.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to pay the money for Game Pass, I mean, you don't want to pay the money for the game, which is $60, then you just get it on Game Pass. Now, here's the problem. Game Pass does that. Now you have physical versus Game Pass. Now there's going to be less copies for physical than there are going to be with the games on Game Pass.
There was already less on physical, though, so that's kind of a moot point. Oh,
but it's... I mean, does it balance itself out? Does it not balance itself out?
The thing is, Game Pass is a response to games going digital. Games aren't necessarily going digital because of Game Pass. They're going digital because that's the cheaper way of doing it. And people are buying more and more digitally.
I think Game Pass is very good.
For gamers. Day one, I think day one is nice, but it's not good for developers.
No, it's not. I would really like to know how much those people get money-wise when the game comes out day one and it's on Game Pass. Was it like, oh, the game got downloaded like 1,000 times, so you get $10, $20?
I think it's more than just downloaded. There's something with the amount of time it's played, too. Like, they just download it and don't play it. Like, I don't think the company gets anything from it. Because the game has to be played. And I think, depending on the amount of time it's played, can affect what they get. And that's my understanding, and it could be wrong. Go do your own homework. But, he moved. I missed him with a rocket.
So this is the thing with the whole Xbox and everything. I'm even seeing it like with Pokemon cards too. Everything is getting
going up
insanely
in price.
Yeah, it's just normal booster box was whatever. Now it's like over the amount.
It's gone up, say $20 or whatever. Holy cannoli.
It's gone up like $175.
That seems kind of a crazy number.
It's insane.
Well,
It's
100
insane. Like they used to be $60 in the Elite Trainer box, 60, $70. And now they're not anymore.
I think it's all collectible card games or whatever have gone up.
Everything has gone up.
Everything's going up. So
Retro. So my big thing is this. You know, keeping with the whole Xbox thing. Xbox Microsoft has what is it? They use like they make they make Windows, whatever, Dell, all this other stuff. So they don't make Dell, but they all the computer parts. So take a look at Xbox and then take a look at Dell and all the computer parts that come from Dell as well. If Xbox says, "Hey, we're going up," that means that they're going up, Dell is going to go up, computer parts are going to go up, because everybody looks to Microsoft.
yeah, but I don't think Dell is as big as they were for. Oh, what?
They're very big in the
Oh my gosh, I think my batteries are dead.
That's not good.
Oh, I'll be right back. Continue on the conversation.
Oh, I'm just gonna talk to myself. The rusted broadsword was over here. Where is the rusted broadsword? Whatever the hell. Did I pick the damn thing up? I did. Alright, we need to head this way. I need a horse, but yeah, that ain't happening. Come on. See, Dell is big with companies. So now the companies are going to suffer because now they have to spend more money on computer parts. Dell already said it today when Microsoft made that announcement. Now, with Microsoft, I don't... $700 for a Xbox with the 2 terabyte? A 2 terabyte does not cost 700. Like, where are you getting these numbers from? Why are you making up fake numbers?
Obviously, they're not making up fake numbers because they wouldn't do it just for fun.
A 2...
Go look and see what a 2 terabyte M2.
I'm gonna look at Micro Center. Micro Center's like they're huge. They're all over the place when it comes to computer products. So 2 TB, what was it? 2 TB M2?
Yep.
Which is the same thing I have in my PC. A 2 terabyte. You can buy right now a Samsung, which is an excellent company, 2 terabyte SSD, Gen 5 for $139.
Okay, so tell that to Nintendo, who's putting a 512 in the Switch 2. But then your Switch goes up from 450 to say 550.
That's still better than $700.
But it's you're paying $150 and you're getting a handheld with tech from what, 10 years ago? 15 years ago?
They're running, I don't know, I think they're running Nvidia Nvidia something on there.
The thing is, even if it's cheap, it's going to add, or you think it's cheap, it's going to add to that price to an extent that people aren't going to want to pay it. But obviously, people are fine with the $450 for a Switch. So would they be fine with the $600 Switch that had 1.5 more terabytes? Maybe.
No,
I don't think they
you
would.
can expand, but you could expand it. That's the crazy part behind it.
Yeah.
You can expand the Switch,
You can expand the Xbox Series,
but
whatever.
seven. Okay.
No, I agree it's
Alright.
expensive, but the thing is, everything else is expensive too. Like, I'm not going to be surprised if around the corner Sony's like, oh yeah, well, we're raising the prices of stuff too. But maybe they'll be like, but we're not going to do it on the games just yet.
So
But see,
This is
Microsoft's raising the price of games to 80. I think it's like, oh hey, well, if you go buy Game Pass,
so
it makes Game
the
Pass a lot more
PlayStation
attractive.
the PlayStation 5 Pro, just the controller and the system itself, is $700. New from Sony. But it's updated graphics, updated everything. It's
Yeah, and people were saying, there's no difference between the PS5 and the PS5 Pro. Like, you really have to look
there's not much
into it.
There's
And how many people's TVs are even going to be able to show anything? Probably not that many.
That's why they didn't do a good job selling the Pro.
Because there's not that much different.
But here's the thing. You're getting the PlayStation 5 Pro that could play 4K, and it could play higher than that, right? So you're getting the PlayStation 5 Pro, and you're getting a 2 terabyte solid state hard drive in it. You're getting Astro's Playroom already pre-installed, so you're getting a game.
You're getting a
and
tech
you're
demo.
getting you're getting a month of PlayStation Online for free.
You're not selling it.
Okay.
They're both overpriced.
The Pro is ridiculously overpriced.
Yeah, so like you're not winning any battles here. They're both overpriced, but some people will pay it, just like with the Switch. It was like, ooh no, not $80 for games. But then they're the Switch is being scalped for almost twice. I haven't looked lately. Twice the price of the MSRP. I am surprised as all get out that GameStop, Best Buy, Walmart, they're like, oh hey, we're just gonna tack on $100 to make it more difficult for scalpers.
So here's the thing. This is what makes the Pro different from the Series. What is it, X or S? Which is the one that's $700? The Series X. The PlayStation 5 GPU is running a 4070, which is one gen under the 5 series for the graphics card. So it right now is running a 4070 with a 12 gig virtual RAM. So right there, it's baseline as good as a PC, almost as good. It's
Not,
basically
it
as
is
good.
nowhere near as good as a top of the line PC.
It's not, yeah, but if okay, that's where it comes into a gray line with graphics cards, because now you have Radeon, or you have which is I think it's ADM, and you have NVIDIA, which is the G series. I have a 5070 Ti, so my 5070 Ti is going to blow the PlayStation Pro completely out of the water. There's no question about that.
Yep.
I got 32 gigs of RAM. I have an i9, and my graphics card and everything is completely overclocked. The PlayStation 5 Pro, keeping it just straight console, it's comparable to an iBuy Power for $2,000 that you would get out of the box from Best Buy, because it has 12 gigs of VR RAM, and unless you're gonna say, okay, we're just looking at spec for spec we're looking at spec for spec for the 4070. But if you say the 4070 Ti Super, PlayStation Pro loses. Completely will lose. But standard 4070 to 4070, it's comparable to a computer that's running a 4070. Is the
I
processing power going to be faster? No.
yeah, at the end of the day, it depends on how you want to play. If you want to sit down in front of your TV and play, you're going to go console for the most part. And if you are worried about graphics, then you should have had a PC for a long time, because PC's always been better. But it also, the developers have to actually make use of the hardware that PCs can handle.
Correct.
If they just do a crappy port from the console, then it's not going to be that much better or any better than a console version, because it's just a port. They didn't put the time and effort into it. But the thing is,
I'm looking.
go ahead.
No, if you want, I'm just like I'm looking at between the Pro and the X, because now they're both $700. The Pro comes with, like I said, a month free, and it's overall better than the X. It has a better graphics card than the X. It has more virtual memory than the X, and you have a ton more games on PlayStation's availability than you do with Xbox. Do I think it is absolutely asinine for Xbox to say, nope, we're doing $700? Yeah, because I don't, there's no like Xbox, I need to have it game, this is amazing type of, stuff. Xbox,
Speaking as someone who doesn't play PlayStation, doesn't own a PlayStation, there's nothing on PlayStation that's like, ooh, oh yeah, that's gonna make me get a PlayStation. There are no killer apps anymore. There's so much to choose from. And the thing is, if you want something that's actually somewhat, imaginative and cool, you're gonna buy indie games, because most of the AAA stuff is just, okay, you got Call of Duty 4,622, and then you'll get Halo 43, because they're slow with the Halos. Most of them are sequels. You get Monster Hunter 5,628.
No, well, that's true.
But if you want something that's innovative and whatnot, you're gonna be shopping for looking at a lot of the indie titles or homebrew for console.
Let me run to the bathroom quick. I'll be right back.
All
right. A whole readout thing over here that we can go down the rabbit hole with this one.
Well, I don't think we need to go down the price for increase for all the things. End of the day, it's all about how do you want to play and how much are you willing to pay to play.
So here's the thing that it's showing.
The Series X is going up to 600.
The Series X?
Yes.
Which is the one that's 700?
The 2 terabyte version.
All right. So that's crazy, because
holy
basically, how much is it now? $500?
Yeah.
So you're paying $200 extra for an inflated SSD card.
No, you're paying $130 for another terabyte.
But it's already a terabyte. The PlayStation 5 Pro standard is 700 with the 2 terabyte and an expansion slot on it. Xbox does not offer an expansion slot, does it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, it does have the X has an expansion slot?
Yes. My Series S has an expansion slot. So I could add another terabyte or something if I wanted to.
No, but the X is the one that's 700.
Yes, they all of the
They all
series
have them.
have expansion slots.
So
So it's
they're saying
$30 more for the Series X Galaxy, the Super Series X. Nintendo messed up with that one. They should have done the Super Switch. But thing is, I'm not planning on buying a 2 terabyte. I'm not planning Xbox or a Pro. I don't care. Like, neither system has a system seller. I really don't think
it's
that. The closest thing was the Indiana Jones game, and because is that already out on PS5 or is that coming out in like June?
it's coming out on PS5 in June.
Yeah, so if you want to play it now, and again, if you don't want to pay for it, you pay for Game Pass. So instead of spending $80, I'm out of ammo again. You can spend $20 and play it. Granted, you won't own it, but you don't own the digital version either.
So their selling points are, they said right here, the game library for Xbox, just regular games, is Forza Horizon 5, and Halo Infinite and Diablo. Now, for the game library for PlayStation, it's Marvel Spider-Man 2, Final Fantasy Rebirth, Ratchet and Clank, Hogwarts Legacy, The Last of Us Part 1, Last of Us Part 2. So this is more of a dated page, but they're saying they're trying to justify that the Pro is worth $700, and there's not a lot of justification for the Xbox when they're saying, oh, you're just dumping a terabyte extra into the Xbox and charging us more money when I could have went and bought a cheaper SSD myself and dumped it into the Xbox and done the same damn thing. You're offering more with the Pro than you are with the Xbox.
That's up
The
to
Xbox-
the individual person, though, to decide. I mean, I'm saying neither one of them, at least to me, can justify the price. Like, I wouldn't have paid $500 for either one of them. Honestly, this generation is almost as pointless as the last generation.
I agree. PlayStation 3 was pure garbage.
No,
PlayStation.
I mean 4.
Oh, well, no. See, 4. I liked PlayStation 4. There were a lot of good games on 4 that I played a lot. For me, 3 was complete garbage. I thought PlayStation 3 was crap because you had Sony go and say, "Hey, we're going to add, if you have it first out of the box, you get to have backwards compatibility and expansion slots to plug your PlayStation 2, card memory slots in." Then they came out and said, "Oh, we're going to have a memory card reader." And they took the expansion slot out. Then they had different iterations of the damn PS3.
Oh my God.
Which was irritating. And the PlayStation 3 to me was garbage. I can't think of a good game on PlayStation that I would want PlayStation 3 besides the Gundam games that I would turn around and say, I need to play this like right now.
The thing is, I mean, that could be said for almost every generation for me. Because I don't have to be the first one to play it. I don't have to be an early adopter. I'm usually not. Because most of the time, early adopters, you're paying more and you don't have hardly any library. You wait a year or two. It used to be that the console would drop in price instead of going
Yeah.
up.
A lot of people are not happy with the Xbox. There's a huge backlash on YouTube. Huge backlash. And the Switch, the Nintendo turnaround, Nintendo said, good luck with the Switch 2 pre-orders again, because with the parts and everything, Nintendo gets most of their parts from China. I mean, Japan doesn't, Japan's not big enough to produce all these parts and stuff. So I think a lot of the Switch parts come from China, if I'm not mistaken. And
Nintendo hasn't said anything about raising their prices, so that's doesn't even factor into it at the moment.
no, Nintendo hasn't said anything about that, but I have a feeling, this with Xbox, it's just gonna go.
Until they
Now
make an
just
announcement, it's all speculation. And
a lot of people are speculating though about this, about the Switch going up, because now with the OLED, I think they're going to see, oh hey, listen, the OLED's going to be more money.
well, duh, because when the original Switch OLED came out, it was more expensive. So whenever a Switch 2 OLED comes out, it will be more expensive. But
I think it's
I mean, the thing is, if you don't like the price increases, don't buy it. Whether it's the games or the consoles, just don't buy it.
true.
Play your old systems. Go pick up a retro system. For $700, you could get a retro console, 2 controllers, and probably a dozen good to excellent games. Especially if you look at the 7th gen.
Or for nothing at all, just download the emulators, download the games, and just buy yourself an 8-bit controller.
Well, we're talking about consoles.
So interesting fact.
That's
The
not
way
very
everything is
interesting.
the way everything's going with the tariffs and I've been told that there's expenses with like Japan and getting parts and all this other stuff. So now the older consoles like the PC Engine and like the Neo Geo CD, the Neo Geos, all that other stuff, those are becoming people are hoarding consoles because they're afraid that a lot of people are buying a lot of stuff from Japan because they're afraid, with the tariffs with China, and a lot of these parts were made in China for the Neo Geos and all these other systems. What is this going to do?
Like, a lot of the stuff doesn't have replacement parts. So if it does have replacement parts, it's not surprising it comes from China because of cheap labor.
Now, also too, a big thing is that I went and bought the we were talking about the retro tank before. Now, since we're talking on like increased prices and everything, I bought all the parts from a place in the UK. And the guy told me, well, since the boards are from China and it's harder to get them and make them and everything, I have to cancel your order for the Neo Geo SCART cable. And now a lot of cables that use parts from China are now going up. So now there's people hoarding cables, HDMI cables, and everything because of all of this. And this is this is proven because today they said that Amazon's pricing has gone up. So a lot of people are buying a lot more stuff now on Amazon because they're afraid of what's going to happen with the tariffs. So they're buying a lot more. They're buying larger quantity of items on Amazon now.
They're panic buying.
They're panic buying. Yes, correct.
Which, to each their own, but it all of a sudden I was like, oh, all the tariffs are done tomorrow. Announcement. We don't know how long it's going to last. You know, I'm not sourcing stuff for anything at the moment, so I'm not worried about it. It sucks that, you know, small manufacturers who do get their stuff from China are going to really get hit hard. But like, I don't really know an answer.
I don't.
It's
I have a feeling these, this with Microsoft and the Switch and the prices of the Switch, and it's just we're only seeing like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this. I also have a feeling now
the tariffs at the moment are only on China.
right, but there's a lot of stuff that comes from China.
Yeah, which
A
this is
lot of
highlighting.
stuff.
So hopefully, some of it will change. And did you hear that there's been a deal made for the Ukraine and the U.S. to work together to get their rare earth minerals?
No, I didn't hear about that.
So it might take some time, but you know, the world's not going to be dependent on China for everything.
So here's an interesting question to ask you. With the way things are going, do you think now with all these prices of the systems, with the
Okay.
prices of these games skyrocketing and stuff, do you think that we're going to see a revitalized 2020, 2022 period of retro going back up
It's
because people will be buying retro instead of all of these games? Or
It's-
you don't think
it's possible, but I don't. Most people, you got to remember, retro is a niche part of the gaming community. Most people don't care. They just want the new stuff. So it's possible it could drive people into retro. It's possible it could drive people to not play games at all. Because, you know, there's like, I'm just getting priced out. I'm done. I mean, I don't think
that
games going up to 80 is the end of the world. I think one thing that really needs to be remembered, we're talking about a luxury item. It's not a necessity. It's not a right. It's a privilege that, you know, that we can
that's
get
very
some
true.
of this stuff. It's gracious.
I mean,
wonder.
that's true. It's luxury.
So, but the thing is, most people they forget. If you don't like it, don't buy it. If you don't like the price of it, don't buy it. Vote with your wallet and take your money somewhere else. It doesn't even have to be gaming related. There's so much other stuff that you could spend your money on. I mean, I've had you know, kind of like a realization that I'd spend, you know, say $50 on a game, but then I cringe at putting $50 in my gas tank. One of those is much more
True.
important than the other.
So the way I see this,
Well, that's just wrong.
with retro and with most of this is I feel that emulation is going to be pushed. I feel like we're going to have a larger push for emulation, and people are going to download the ROMs. They're going to download all of those games. We're going to see a larger push for, handhelds, like those emulation handhelds and stuff. Those have even gone. Those are even going up now, like the Ambernac and everything that people were buying like so much because everything, all of that is coming out of China. All the screens are coming out of China, the boards, the parts, everything. That's all going to go up. Um, and I think we're gonna see people doing more emulation because especially people like let's say our age, people a little bit younger, whatever it is, with the retro games, it's going to be, oh, my kid wants the new Switch, my kid wants the Zelda, my kid wants the Donkey Kong, you know, and they'll be willing to take their retro games, burn them, sell off the collections that they've acquired, and buy the Switch and everything for their kids and stuff. And I feel the market is going to go somewhat down because of this. And I feel like a lot of people, like let's say Baron's age or 30s and whatever, they're going to be like, why am I spending all this money on stupid retro games when they're free? And I think this might play to an advantage of retro, but for new physical media, collector's editions for the Switch and all that other stuff, it's going to go much higher than we think. I think a lot of physical media is going to be basically pricing out because of all the parts that they use to make the cards from China.
I think it could just put a lull in modern. But I don't know. I don't see a bunch of people selling their collection just so they could buy a Switch 2.
I think a lot of people I think we're going to see
that
a displacement come this year. I think a lot of people are going to be selling off a lot of that stuff because they're going to see all the new gen and they're going to be like, oh, listen, whatever. I mean, what's the problem with what's going to happen is where a lot of those, like, what's going to be good for retro is a lot of those Chinese knockoffs that we have, like all the knockoff Pokemon cards, the knockoff, like, Pokemon games, everything. Those are probably going to go and disappear somewhat.
They'll just be made someplace else that doesn't have restrictive pricing.
Yeah, but I mean, even so, if they make them somewhere else, all the parts come from. So
no, China is not the only place that makes all of this stuff. They're not the only ones that make this piece and this piece. People will source some of this stuff from someplace else, and it may take some time to get stuff geared up so they can do it. But again, it could all be resolved tomorrow. Do I think it will be? No.
No.
They
said Beijing's feeling it, but you also got to understand too. There's the kids, they're kids that want the games, and
yeah. But as a parent, you could do something really good for your kids and tell them no, you're not getting
true.
it.
I mean, it's true, but I know there are people out there that have, all the retro games. They have all that. They're all like, whatever. I'm just gonna.
I mean, maybe it'll push people to play mobile games.
I did see a price change in the Breath of the Wild Collector's Edition. It used to be like, I think it was $1,500. Now it's down to $600. So that definitely went down.
The thing is, we've been in a recession for several years too. So prices have been going up and people have been spending less on the fluff. I think it's like there's tons of different factors into all of this. So, but this is also going to be a wake-up call to a lot of companies who sole source stuff from China. But hey, maybe we need to spread this out, so we're not just getting all of our stuff from China. I think by the end of next year, Apple will be producing enough phones in India that they won't need to import anything from China. It'll be imported from India instead.
I've heard that too.
So it's gonna, like I said, there'll be some market disruption, but like people will make changes to what they buy, where they buy stuff from.
It's just
I think the big thing
China's
is,
had a
make sure that you can afford the roof over your head, that you can have food and water, feed yourself and your family, and ride out this craziness. But I think some of it's craziness that needed to happen because like our national debt is just a little bit too crazy, and I'm gonna die. Ew, I've got 4 rounds.
what is up with this stupid thing?
But that's the thing is just pay attention to what you're buying. Pay attention, make sure that you are spending less than you've got coming in. Put money aside for a rainy day, because heaven knows they're kind of here. But remember
say
what's
buy
really
gold.
important in life.
Buy gold.
That's one
Gold.
thing I have never understood is why people say buy gold. Because if it all
Gold
goes to
right
pot,
now.
no one's gonna care how much gold you have, because you can't eat it.
Yeah, but right now gold's going for 3,500. No,
Yeah,
3,300
if
an
you bought
ounce.
gold 20 years ago, you'd have made a bunch of money. But guess what? If you had bought Bitcoin 20 years ago and held on to it, you would have made a lot more. I am out of ammo. I don't even have a gun. Shoot.
That is true.
So, the world is not going to end because of these tariffs. I'm going to die. He's going to kill me in the face. Yes, the price of Xbox is going up. Switch is expensive. Games are expensive. Living is expensive. But take care of you and yours. Make sure you have food on the table. Tell your kids no, you're not getting the new system just because it's new. I mean, Donkey Kong Bonanza looks cool. I was happily surprised by what they showed off on that Nintendo Direct and in subsequent directs and videos. But I'm not going to spend $450 to get a Switch 2 and then $70 so I can get Donkey Kong Bonanza
I sold a bunch of games.
or Prime 4. I'll probably pick that up for the OG Switch and maybe even on day one, but maybe not.
Is it coming out for the Switch?
Yes, Prime 4 is.
Prime 4 is coming out for the Switch. Okay.
Yes. Because
I didn't know that.
there's always that one game that gets released on the Switch. Or Nintendo always releases, in the last couple cycles, has always released a game on the Switch and on the new console. The last couple have just been Zelda titles. Which might be why they're saying, hey, you can get these upgrades for these old games. But, I mean, I don't know. I think kind of to try and wrap it up, prices are going up everywhere. It's not really surprising that Microsoft is doing this. It definitely seems like it's going to be tough for people to swallow because it wasn't selling great at its current price, and then they raised it. The Series X went up $100. The Series X Digital went up $100. The Series S 1 terabyte went up from $350 to $430, so $80. The S512 went up $80. But that makes it really tempting to me to try to sell my original Series S. Because it's gonna be $380 for a new one. Now all of a sudden, my old one used maybe is worth $250. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That is definitely true. I know a lot of people are buying the Switch OLED model. They're not buying a lot of the accessories sold out for the Switch OLED, and yeah, they're buying the Switch OLED model because there were not a lot of people were not happy that Switch came out with just a better handheld for your.
But what did people want? You got a bigger, beefier OG Switch. And I think we may have lost Satan because he's stuck. Ah. So let's see if he comes back. And we're going upwards of 40 some odd minutes. All right, you're back now.
Selling. Oh, yeah, I think you froze.
I had a hiccup, but yeah, just take care of the necessities. None of the gaming stuff is a necessity. None of it.
No, it's not.
A new TV is not a necessity. Your washing machine is much more important than a TV because it allows you to have clean clothes.
I just can't understand why they would. To me, it just makes no sense why they would do that.
The strange
If they're
thing
already
is, they're like, I could understand, like, okay, we're putting a pause on production for these consoles, but they've gone ahead and raised the price, even on the ones that are already on the store shelves.
That's true. I just don't think. I mean, people are not happy. People are way not happy with this. So they're just like, why? You don't have any good games. There's nothing
No,
really,
I mean, both systems have good games. They may not be games that you're particularly in love with the idea of them or whatever, but there are good games. I don't know.
Game Pass is
Controls
definitely worth it, though. How am I supposed to? I hate these guys, these little idiots down here.
Oh, I thought I got him. He got me. But yeah, wrap it up. Be patient. Be patient. That's the biggest thing. And if you're actually unhappy with what they're doing, don't buy it. Whether it's Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft. If you're not happy with what they're doing, don't buy their stuff. And then you can even tell them, hey, I was thinking of getting your system, but I didn't care for the changes that you were making, so I'm not doing that now.
It's interesting. I just don't know. But Game Pass is definitely worth it. There might be more games on Game Pass for the system rather than PC, but I do know Game Pass is worth it.
Game Pass is worth it. And the cool thing about the current gens is that if you had an extensive library for one of the other versions, previous version of the systems, I can play. I'm sure there's some OG Xbox games in here somewhere, as well as plenty of 360 games. Here's all the ones I have for the X or S. Here's the one. Here's the 360.
That's a lot of games. Wow.
To me, like,
those are all on Game Pass?
No, these are games I own. I don't have Game Pass at the moment. I might get a year of Core so I can play Space Marine online and EDF 2025 online. But there's plenty of options for gaming. legal and illegal. So do what you will with that. But
Oh, all right.
that's it. Yeah.
And for now,
Love to hear
all right, everyone.
everyone's thoughts on that. Saying I went around and around a bit, but price increases stink. They do. No one likes
do.
it. It doesn't matter what it is when something goes up. I mean, it's even worse when your insurance goes up. But that's it from us for now. Everyone take care. Have fun. If you got one other, stay safe. Keep it retro or 360. God bless.
Or 360.